Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Rosabertrancat. I'm a world-class coach with three specialties: success, transformational wealth, and emotional freedom. Welcome to my training about how about putting yourself first in your life, and to what are you doing, saying no more for it? Do you really put yourself at first place? Do you have to fight for self-respect? I get that. Especially women. They put themselves in second place or third place or even lost their place. Here's a good tip. Start putting boundaries until you get yourself the space for putting you where it corresponds. You are not your job or your husband or your children, even not your friends. The principle is to allow your soul to express and allow yourself to listen to your soul. And as well, and not less importantly, to listen to your constant body messages. Because our body is a friend that can give us lots of information. We have an intuitive body. To listen to our inner intuition is clue for recognition. Why do I talk about recognition? Because for me it's an essential path. Why do I talk about putting yourself first and finding your place in the world? Because we humans, and again especially women, very often we go around with a neutral mask. To be appropriate, I mean that often we make ourselves invisible, maybe very early in our lives, and then we become invisible for the outer world. Meanwhile, inside, we are another person. This true person that only our soul is testimonial of, right? So there's a lot to conquer there. Not only starting by putting boundaries and starting your affirmation as a person, but to uncover layers that has often to be decluttered emotionally, because we are not robots. In our evolution or involution, there is our heart involved. So another tip is to declutter, and by doing so, arrive to more clarity. Clarity doesn't come by itself. To have clarity of who you really are needs the good habit of self-inquiry, of course. Another tip is to allow yourself to feel your own divinity. Once we get this habit to listen to all these little inner signs and indicators of our divine being, we realize that being a human being makes sense. We are not alone. When we say that we are all one, it's because we are divinely entangled. Okay, what are you saying no more to? Here are some tips. Maybe you are saying no more to toxic relationships or one specific relationship or patterns. Maybe there are patterns that no longer serves you or that still you have to discover and recognize that they are patterns or behaviors that you are not anymore comfortable with, and they are not constructive for you and makes you lose time or relationships. Are you saying no more to inertia? Maybe there is your whole life that you are realizing that you are following something without really living in plentitude, and maybe derailed from your own sacred self. Can you say no more to procrastination? Maybe you have procrastinated so much that you went way far from what you really wanted and living life in your terms, or without integrity, because if your inner truth is dissociated of your daily actions, you are likely to lie to yourself and the world, right? And maybe you have become a people pleaser since lots of time. That's another thing that you could say no more. And that's a great idea to explore for your path of recognition and also, and furthermore, liberation. Many leaders, when they are not aligned, they become people pleasers. And until you don't realize it, you cannot correct it and to please you. It is when, as a model, when we practice seriously self-recognition and self-love, we can emanate love. And the people around us starts mirroring us and loving themselves as well. Then, and for me only then, it's possible to share love, to love another person, etc. I have my own metaphor about this. For me, love is like a glass of honey. Until the top, you need it for yourself. And what it pours down is what we got for sharing. We need to treasure ourselves, it's another tip. And furthermore, to pamper ourselves for the gift we got to be here on earth, in us. Otherwise, how can we share our love with the others? With Atman, the universal soul. I love this word, Atman, the universal soul. So, here I would summarize this, and these seeds for putting yourself first and saying no more. Remember, tip number 1, start putting boundaries. Tip number 2, express and allow yourself to listen to your soul. And as well, not less importantly, to listen to your constant body messages. And inner intuition. Tip number 3, if you can get rid of that neutral mask that I say, the ones that we put for being appropriate and that makes us invisible and actually it doesn't serve us. Tip number 4, uncover the layers that often are messy, and we need to declutter them emotionally also. Tip number 5, clarity of who you really are, and you need to have this habit of self-inquiry. Tip number 6, another tip is to allow yourself to feel your own divinity. And you'll see that life is getting much better. And what I'm saying, no more. Tip number 1, get rid of any toxic relationship. Number 2, examine if you have some patterns that you are following and you don't need anymore. They don't serve to you anymore. Or you suddenly become aware that you are acting as a pattern, and that's an aha. Tip number 3, get rid of behaviors that are not constructive for you and make you lose time or relationships. Tip number 4, maybe you need to get rid of inertia. So examine where inertia is in your life, because we don't want to live by inertia. We want to live by design, by our initiative. Tip number 5, say no more to procrastinate. And tip number 6, examine if you have become a people pleaser. Maybe since a lot of time. So what? Once you decide that you don't want to be a people pleaser, you have the option of being yourself. And tip number 7, my metaphor, remember that to love yourself is essential, that if that glass of honey that pours down, that I said that is my metaphor, remember that until the top is for yourself. What pours down is what you can share. So, yeah, we need to treasure ourselves and to share our love, of course, with the universal soul. So, here the idea is, once you have said no more to all the tragedy or comedy in several layers and aspects, you finally can make room to put yourself first and start to live in a new act, making the dialogue simple, making the scenes from your to self, and performing the rest of the acts of your own path with recognition for yourself and others, and loving yourself from your radiant, happy heart because you live in integrity. So, and feel free for consultation. You can write me at rosabertrancat at gmail.com if you want to know what is possible for you to transform in your life. So, thank you. Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much.